Hello, friends. This is Father Frank Pavone, National Director of Priests for Life. I'm here with our Executive Director, Janet Morana, and our Director of African American Outreach, Dr. Alveda King. And we're here to talk to you about the case Priests for Life versus HHS, a case now in the Supreme Court challenging the Obama HHS mandate. Now, Alveda and Janet, welcome, and we know that we have been processing this case now for 4 years.
Right.
We were one of the first ones to introduce a challenge to this mandate, and in a nutshell, the mandate is trying to make us cooperate with the government in expanding abortion.
That's right.
And the very purpose of our ministry is to end abortion.
Right.
So how does this make any sense, that they want us to help them expand it? You would think they would have more respect for our conscience.
Right. Well, we're in this case with 6 other plaintiffs, but we're unique in that our core ministry is all about this. The other are schools and dioceses and things, which of course Catholic principles prevail there, but non-negotiables like abortion and contraception. But for us, this is our mission. So it's not only goes against our core Catholic principles, but it also deals with our mission at Priests for Life.
Right.
And as director of African American Outreach, Civil Rights for the Unborn, people forget that life is a civil right. So even the babies in the womb, the mothers, if you're going to force the mother to take harmful chemicals or to abort the baby or something like that, you violate the rights of the baby and the health of the mother.
Right.
And so these products that are being offered, bad products, recall abortion, for that reason, Janet's book. But we are forcing bad products on people. Now, if people want to take those, great. But our organization, and especially from my perspective, a civil rights organization, we need to be able to give the best care for women and babies. And then there's a spiritual and moral aspect as well.
Now, I want to point out to our viewers that not only is Priests for Life, as an organization, a plaintiff in this case, but the 3 of us are personally. And the reason for that is that if the organization is forced to provide in our health insurance coverage for these objectionable practices, well, then we as executives of the organization need to be signing documents. I mean, we're the ones employing these people who would be having this coverage. So I think it's especially significant that, Alveda, you're a plaintiff. I mean, here, this is really historic that as a member of the King family, here you are again defending civil rights in the United States court.
The civil rights of the preborn babies, the mothers. Janet, of course, is a victim of contraceptives.
Right.
I'm harmful contraceptives.
Harmful contraceptives.
And I'm a victim of harmful contraceptives and abortion. I'm a victim. I wasn't aborted, but my children were. And so that harmed my spirit, my soul, my body, because I was sold a bad product. So here we now want to force another bad product on the people of America, which is terrible.
Now, one of the things people have to keep in mind is that the Obama administration is trying to make itself look like it's accommodating our conscience and our religious freedom, because they're saying, oh, all you have to do is sign this form, and then you'll be okay, you'll be exempt. But the fact of the matter is, what they're saying is, sign this form, and then we will take it from there, and we'll make sure your employees get the very coverage that you're objecting to. But the problem then is, even if we're not paying for it, we're still cooperating. Because the fact is, the bottom line is this, very simple. They would be getting the coverage, okay, for abortion-inducing drugs and contraceptives, precisely because they are our employees.
That's right.
And that still involves us in the process. Yeah. And so we say no. Our faith tells us we can't have any cooperation or involvement in this. Now, the government might say, and they do say, oh, but that's ridiculous. You're being scrupulous. You're being too sensitive. You're misunderstanding how it works. And what our argument is in court is the government has no business passing that kind of judgment on our religious beliefs.
That's right.
That's where the religious freedom comes in, that we're free to believe and we're free to practice that belief, even if the government thinks it's ridiculous.
Well, the other thing too, Father, of course, is we will refuse to sign those forms. And that means we'll have to probably, if we lose in the court, we will refuse to sign the forms. We'll have to face the penalties, and our employees will have to get insurance elsewhere. But I want to say something about all our employees. We've always had at Priest Life a history of not providing abortion nor contraception on our medical insurance. For all the years we provided insurance for our employees, and not one person has ever objected because they're in tune with us. 50 employees are all saying amen. Alveda, Father, Janet, keep going forward. We're behind you, because they don't want to see us cave in either. And they're willing to face the consequences too. We're a team here, a family, and we're going to go forward and put God first as opposed to the state first.
Absolutely, and I agree with that. God must always be first, and the government should follow. And if the government is not going to do that, I think when I was young, the concept of a conscientious objector, very aware, not wanting to be disrespectful to any law, but I just cannot go along with what you're trying to force me to do. And so this brings us back into a similar position.
Now, we have had a press conference
Right.
about our case when it was first accepted by the Supreme Court in November. We went to Washington, and our attorneys were there, and we should mention that our attorneys are Robert Muse and David Yerushalmi of the American Freedom Law Center. That's
right.
the entity representing us from the beginning with this particular case against the HHS mandate. So they did a great job of explaining everything. They've done a great job of shepherding us through this process. And now they'll be working with the other attorneys representing the other 6 cases that the court has all consolidated all into one. Now, among those cases, of course, are the Little Sisters of the Poor, the Archdiocese of Washington, the Diocese of Pittsburgh, and
Catholic University.
various other, and including some of our brothers and sisters in other Christian denominations who have joined in on this: Geneva College, East Texas Baptist University, and various other plaintiffs. So it's great to all be together in the midst of this. Now,
Yeah, but Father, I want to point out to our viewers that in addition to the 7 of us that are the plaintiffs and the people going forward in this case, what happens in this case affects everyone nationwide.
Yes.
Because there are other organizations all across the country that have cases that have percolated up in their federal level, but they haven't been heard beyond that because we 7 have made it to the Supreme Court. What the Supreme Court decides doesn't just affect the 7 cases. It affects all those other cases. So EWTN and a whole bunch of other dioceses have filed in their own districts.
Yes.
So this is monumental. Right. It's going to send a real tidal wave across our country. If we lose, everyone loses. But if we win, it's a victory for everybody.
That is such an important point, and I want to point out another one that kind of goes with that. The people of the United States have a right to understand this. The civil rights of every human being is impacted by this decision. For example, we say that this is about contraceptives, and it is. However, we know that the contraceptives are a bad product. Right. When the contraceptives fail, and they often do, and if they almost work, they have to make the woman's body sick in order to prevent the pregnancy. It does something to her hormones and her system, exposes her to cancer and all that kind of thing. But if they fail, guess who's waiting at the door? The abortionist is there, and right. The abortionist says, "Well, we tried the product. It didn't work, but let us give you a safe, legal, and rare abortion." So people are not connecting those threads or the dots, and if you look through the eye of that needle, you see how far this can go. And so it can expose the woman to so much pain and suffering, and that's part of our mission as well. In the lawsuit, we say that we will not participate with this process in any way, and we want the people of America to know what is happening. And so, win or lose, we need to win.
Well,
we must win. And so, but we are informing people. People need to know the truth.
Well, what you just point out is so important because at issue in this case is the fact that the government made a list
right.
of quote-unquote services
right.
that we have to cover in our health insurance plan.
That's right.
Now, if they win on principle and they say, well, yes, it's okay to force us to do that, why can't they add to the list?
They can add
They can add whatever they want to the list.
That's right.
And so it opens up then an entire...
It's kicking open a door that has very, very dangerous ramifications.
Unexpected out.
And people focus right now, Father, on contraception and abortion, but euthanasia and the life issues are right in the tail end.
Yeah, you have to
And
provide
next
health
is-
insurance
right.
coverage for assisted suicide.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Or anything else they want to add
That's
to
right.
the list. Who's controlling what's
That's
on
right.
this list? This case gives broad power then to the government to say, oh, it doesn't matter what your religious beliefs are.
Right.
You have to do what we say. And this is why the church is rising up and
We're
fighting
resisting.
against.
We're
And we have a
saying
prayer
no.
campaign. We need everyone involved with us. We have special prayers and a website, Father, right?
prayercampaign.org. People can pray each and every day. We have 10 different prayers, and we will add more. interdenominational prayers that people can say for the success in this case
That's right.
and for the reversal of the HHS mandate. So prayercampaign.org.
Now, where would someone look and write if they wanted to connect with their elected officials and they wanted to write a letter and say, are you paying attention to this? Did you notice this? We're dealing with the federal
Yes.
level, but sometimes things trickle down to the governor or to the states and et cetera. So how
Yes.
do people become engaged? And there should be something on our site where they can actually join and be informed. So what
That's
would
right,
they
and
look
there
for?
and there is, and it's good that you bring that up. We have a special website relating to our case, and it's called istandwithpfl.com. So istandwithpfl.com has just what you're saying. How can people be involved? How can they express their support? How can they communicate with their elected officials? And they can also read all the official documents of the case. And they will see the history of this case as it has proceeded up the ladder through the court system. They will see who the other cases are now combined with ours at the Supreme Court. They will see the various friend of the court briefs. And I want to mention this too, that many other organizations have joined with us in this case at the Supreme Court, expressing support and offering their own arguments as to why we should win, including the Bishops' Conference of the United States, EWTN, including the Sisters of Life, including the Knights of Columbus, including many organizations of physicians and attorneys and clergy, joining with us and saying to the court, this case is important and we are on the side of Priests for Life and the other
What about the
plaintiffs.
interdenominational communities, the various aspects of the nation, and from every walk of life and that type of person? So, if you're not a priest, if you're not a politician, if you're not a pastor, you can be involved, and you can, as laity, wherever you go to church, please inform your pastor of these things and let them know what's going on. The whole community, the whole national community needs to be informed of all of this.
Informed and involved. That's why we're sending out notices to all the churches, not only, like you say, not only to be involved in the prayer effort, but to express their support for the case.
That's right.
And to understand its implications for them. Because if the government can end up forcing us and these other plaintiffs to cooperate in abortion, well, they can force anybody.
Well, people have to get focused back on the fact that this is a religious freedom case. That's what this
It's
is
about religious
And our
freedom.
country
Thank
was
you.
founded
Thank you.
by people who came here to practice their religion, whichever one it was, freely, with no restrictions. And what they're trying to do now is put a restriction on how we practice our religion.
And look how brazen the Obama administration is in doing this. Because not only are they asking American citizens to violate their religious freedom, because this applies to employers, and so any American citizen, man, woman, clergy, laity, who's an employer is under this mandate. But priests in particular, and this goes back to the point you were making, how Priests for Life is a very appropriate plaintiff against this mandate, because in the history of America, pastors have had such a key role, even in the building of America, and in the defense of religious freedom, and in the exercise of worship. And now you're saying to a group of priests, you have to
Violate
cooperate
your conscience.
in expanding abortion. Priests?
Right.
Pastors? Are you really going to go that far?
Right.
To us, we who were ordained precisely to lead the people in religious worship, now are going to violate that? This is so outrageous. It's hard to express it in words. You know, another thing too. Again, people will say, "Oh, well, all they're asking you to do is sign a form." Well, you know, in the early Roman Empire, when Christians were being persecuted, they said, "Oh, well, all we're asking you to do is to take a pinch of incense and drop it on the fire and say Caesar is Lord."
Right.
Well, what kind of, there's a simple little thing like that. Then you go off and you know, live your life. No, they said, that may be, when you look at it, a simple little action, but it's a profound violation of our conscience,
Caesar
our
is
religion.
not Lord.
Because Caesar's not Lord.
That's right.
And then we look into the Old Testament too, in the books of the Maccabees. Remember the elderly man Eleazar, who, as a practicing Jewish man, knew he could not eat certain meats that were forbidden by the law, and they told him, they were trying. The Greeks were persecuting the Jews, and they said, "You have to eat this piece of meat," and he said, "No, He would not do it, and he would not even give the appearance of doing it.
Right.
Because he said, you might think it's a small little action for me to chew a little piece of meat. They even offered him the option to pretend that it was pork when it wasn't, so that he wouldn't really be eating the forbidden meat, but at least he would satisfy the oppressors. And he said no to that too. He said, listen, this might seem like a small action, but this is a big deal, because this involves our fidelity to God. And it's not up to the government, and it's not up to anybody else to say your beliefs are silly. Oh, that's just a small thing. Go ahead and do it. This is exactly the same thing that we read about in Scripture and in Christian history. They're saying to us, it's a small thing. We're saying to them, this is a big thing.
It's a big thing. That's right.
This is our relationship with God. And government, they may not understand it. They don't have to understand it. They have to respect it.
They have to
And
just
there's a
respect our
difference.
religious freedom. That's the
Respect
bottom line.
freedom.
It's a principle by which this country was founded, and we have to stick to that principle, and that's what this is about. It's not about whether you agree with abortion or contraception. It's about, do you think we should have the freedom to practice our religion in this country, and the government not telling us how to do that. And there's a whole bunch of religions out there that always fight and seem to win, but it seems when it comes to the Catholics and Christians, we get persecuted. So
is it.
everyone really needs to get on board, because guess what? If they persecute us, you're going to be next in line. Watch out.
So we're appealing to, and we're reminding Christians everywhere, religious freedom. And your denomination could be Protestant, Catholic, interdenominational. You could be Baptist, Catholic, Methodist, all of that. But we must stand together and unite.
That's right.
And non-denominational, whatever. But we must stand. We have a right. And so the person who has a right to say, I don't like your church and I'm not coming, we have a right to say, we are our church and we are here and we're not going away.
We're not going away. Well, you know, and our Jewish brothers and sisters have joined in with us
That's
very
right.
strongly on
That's
this. We
right.
have
That's
a group
right.
of rabbis that wrote one of the Friend of the Court briefs.
That's
And of
right.
course, one of our lead attorneys, David Yerushalmi,
Jewish.
is
That's
a
right.
practicing
That's right.
Orthodox Jew. So it's beautiful that this brings believers in God together.
That's right.
It really does. So, friends, we are in the Supreme Court. Priests for Life versus the HHS mandate. We are in the Supreme Court now with so many of our brothers and sisters, and we ask you to join with us. Again, istandwithpfl.com is our website, and prayercampaign.org is the prayer site. Our case is being heard. The oral arguments will be conducted on Wednesday, March the 23rd. It's actually the Wednesday of Holy Week, and we will be at the Supreme Court that day, and there will be a rally and prayer time and speeches being given outside the court at the very same time. If you can come to Washington, come. And otherwise, do join us online in both prayer and solidarity with this case. I am confident of victory in this case, and brothers and sisters, one way or the other, whatever the court decides to do, you already know what we are going to do. We are going to continue not only to be faithful, but to be victorious in building the culture of life in the United States of America and see an end to the killing of children by abortion. So let's unite together and as this case is heard, and let us praise God for the freedom that he has given us. Thank you, Alveda and Janet, for being part of this case and for being part of Priests for Life.